was a dark and stormy night. My family, my friend, and my girlfriend had decided to visit an old mansion that was rumored to be haunted. We wanted to have some fun and adventure, and maybe see some ghosts. We had heard that the mansion belonged to a wealthy family that had disappeared under mysterious circumstances. No one knew what had happened to them or why they had left the mansion. Some said that they had been murdered by a rival, others said that they had been cursed by a witch, and others said that they had simply vanished into thin air. We arrived at the mansion around 10 p.m. after driving for an hour through the woods. The mansion was huge and imposing, with a Gothic style and a gloomy atmosphere. It looked like it had been abandoned for a long time, with boarded-up windows and overgrown weeds. We parked our car in front of the gate and got out. We had brought some flashlights, a camera, and a Ouija board. We wanted to communicate with the spirits and record any evidence of paranormal activity. We climbed over the gate and walked towards the front door. It was unlocked, so we pushed it open and entered. The interior was dark and dusty, with a musty smell. We turned on our flashlights and looked around. We saw a grand foyer with a staircase, a chandelier, and a fireplace. There were paintings on the walls and statues on the corners. The furniture was covered with white sheets, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling. It looked like a scene from a horror movie. We decided to split up and explore the mansion. My family went to the left wing, where the bedrooms and the bathrooms were. My friend and my girlfriend went to the right wing, where the library and the study were. I went to the center, where the dining room and the kitchen were. We agreed to meet back in the foyer in an hour and share our findings. I walked to the dining room, where I found a long table with a dozen chairs. There were plates and glasses on the table, as if the family had been ready to eat. There was also a silver tray with a bottle and some glasses. I was curious to see what was in the bottle, so I picked it up and read the label. It said, "Spooky Drink." I wondered what it was and why it had such a strange name. I decided to taste it and see if it had any effect. I poured some into a glass and drank it. It was sweet and fizzy with a fruity flavor. It tasted good, but nothing special. I didn't feel any different, so I shrugged and put the bottle back on the tray. I then moved on to the kitchen, where I found a fridge, a stove, and a sink. There were some food items in the fridge, but they were all rotten and moldy. I felt a wave of nausea and closed the fridge. I then noticed a door that led to the basement. I opened it and saw a staircase that went down. I decided to check it out and see what was there. I walked down the stairs and reached the basement. It was dark and damp, with a foul smell. I turned on my flashlight and looked around. I saw a furnace, a water heater, and a washer. I also saw a wooden door with a padlock. I wondered what was behind the door, and if I could open it. I looked for a key, but I found none. I gave up and turned to leave. But as I did, I heard a loud thud from behind the door. I jumped and turned back. I heard another thud, and then a voice. It was a woman's voice, and it sounded terrified. She said, "Help me! Please help me! He's going to kill me!" I was shocked and scared. Who was that woman? And who was going to kill her? Was she a ghost or a prisoner? I decided to help her and see if I could break the padlock. I grabbed a metal pipe and smashed it against the padlock. It broke, and the door opened. I entered the room and saw a horrifying sight. There was a woman chained to a wall. She was pale and thin, with bruises and cuts all over her body. She had long blonde hair and blue eyes. She looked familiar, and then I realized who she was. She was the daughter of the mansion's owners, the one who had disappeared with her family. She was still alive after all these years. She looked at me with a mix of fear and hope and said, "Thank you. Thank you for saving me. You have to get me out of here. He's coming back soon. He's a monster. He's the one who killed my family and kept me here as his toy. He's the one who made the spooky drink. It's a poison. It makes you hallucinate and lose your mind. He's been feeding it to me and to his other victims. He's a serial killer, and he lives in the attic. He's the ghost of the mansion." I was stunned and horrified. I had just drank the spooky drink and I was in danger. I had to get out of there and warn the others. I said, "Who are you talking about? Who is he? What's his name?" She said, "His name is Jack. He's my cousin. He was jealous of my family and he wanted their money and their mansion. He set the fire that killed them and he kidnapped me. He's been torturing me and killing anyone who comes to the mansion. He's a psychopath and he's obsessed with me. He thinks I'm his bride and he wants to marry me. He's going to kill you too if you don't hurry. Please help me. Please cut these chains and let's go." I said, Okay, calm down. I'll help you. Just give me a minute. I'll find something to cut the chains." I looked around the room and saw a pair of scissors on a table. I grabbed them and ran to the woman. I cut the chains and freed her. She hugged me and said, Thank you so much. You're my hero. Let's go before he comes back." I said, "Okay, let's go. Follow me." I took her hand and led her to the door. We exited the room and ran to the stairs. We climbed up and reached the kitchen. We ran to the dining room and then to the foyer. We hoped to find the others and get out of the mansion. But as we reached the foyer, we saw a terrible scene. There were bodies on the floor covered with blood. They were the bodies of my family, my friend, and my girlfriend. They had been stabbed and slashed and mutilated. They were all dead. I screamed and dropped the scissors. I fell to my knees and cried. I had just lost everyone I loved, and I was alone. I felt a pang of guilt and regret. I had been the one who suggested to visit the mansion, and I had been the one who drank the spooky drink. I had doomed us all. I heard a laugh and looked up. I saw a man standing on the staircase. He was wearing a long coat and a hat. He had a knife in his hand and a scar on his face. He looked like he had escaped from a mental asylum. He was Jack, the cousin of the woman. He was the killer and the ghost of the mansion. He said, "Hello, my dear guests. I've been expecting you. Welcome to my home. You will never leave." He walked down the stairs and approached us. He said, "You see, I have a special gift. I can see the future and I can manipulate the past. I knew you were coming and I prepared a surprise for you. I made the spooky drink and I left it in the dining room. I knew you would drink it and I knew what it would do to you. It would make you see things that weren't there, and it would make you do things that you wouldn't normally do. It would make you kill your loved ones and then yourself. It would make you join me in my eternal hell." I was shocked and confused. I said, "What are you talking about? I didn't kill anyone." "You did. You're the murderer and you're the monster." He said, No, you're wrong. You're the murderer and you're the monster. You just don't remember because of the spooky drink. But I can show you. I can show you the truth." He pointed to the camera that was lying on the floor. He said, "You see that camera? You brought it with you to record your adventure. Well, it recorded everything. Everything that you did and everything that you saw. It recorded the reality and the illusion. It recorded your madness and your horror. It recorded your death and your damnation. It recorded your story and your nightmare. Do you want to see it? Do you want to see what you did?"
Hi guys.
He picked up the camera and turned it on. He played the video and showed it to me. I saw the footage and I couldn't believe my eyes. I saw myself. I always loved exploring old buildings. There was something thrilling about walking through the dusty halls, imagining the lives of the people who once lived there. That's why I was so excited when I heard about the abandoned mansion on the outskirts of town. It was said to be haunted by the ghosts of its former owners, who died in a mysterious fire decades ago. I decided to check it out for myself, hoping to capture some paranormal activity on my camera. I arrived at the mansion around midnight, armed with a flashlight and a backpack full of equipment. The mansion looked eerie in the moonlight, with its broken windows and crumbling walls. I climbed over the fence and made my way to the front door. It was unlocked, so I pushed it open and stepped inside. The interior was dark and silent, except for the occasional creak of the floorboards. I turned on my flashlight and scanned the surroundings. I saw a grand staircase, a chandelier, and a fireplace. The furniture was covered with white sheets, and cobwebs hung from the ceiling. It looked like a scene from a horror movie. I decided to start from the ground floor and work my way up. I explored the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen. They were all empty and decayed, with nothing of interest. I then moved on to the library, where I found a large bookcase filled with dusty books. I was curious to see what kind of books they had, so I pulled out one of them and opened it. It was a diary written by a woman named Elizabeth. She was the wife of the mansion's owner, a wealthy businessman named Edward. She wrote about her life in the mansion, her love for Edward, and her fear of the strange noises and shadows that haunted her at night. She also wrote about a secret passage that led to a hidden room where Edward kept his most precious possessions. She said that the entrance to the passage was behind the bookcase and that only Edward knew how to open it. I was intrigued by this discovery. I wondered what Edward had hidden in that room and why he kept it a secret from his wife. I decided to look for the passage and see if I could find it. I put the diary back on the shelf and examined the bookcase. I noticed that one of the books had a different color than the others. It was a red book with a gold lock on it. I pulled it out and saw that it was actually a lever. I pulled it down and heard a click. The bookcase swung open, revealing a narrow staircase that led to the basement. I felt a surge of excitement. I had found the secret passage. I grabbed my camera and headed down the stairs. I hoped to find something amazing in the hidden room, something that would make my video go viral. I reached the bottom of the stairs and saw a wooden door with a metal handle. I opened it and entered the room. It was dark and damp, with a musty smell. I turned on my flashlight and looked around. I saw a large metal safe, a wooden chest, and a glass cabinet. I wondered what they contained. I walked over to the safe and tried to open it. It was locked, of course. I looked for a combination or a key, but I found none. I gave up and moved on to the chest. I lifted the lid and saw a pile of gold coins, jewels, and other valuables. I was amazed by the sight. Edward must have been very rich and very greedy. I took out my camera and started to record the treasure. As I was filming, I heard a loud bang behind me. I turned around and saw that the door had slammed shut. I ran to it and tried to open it, but it was locked. I panicked and started to scream. I banged on the door, hoping that someone would hear me. But no one came. I was trapped. I realized that I had made a terrible mistake. I had entered the hidden room and awakened the ghosts of the mansion. They were angry with me, and they wanted me to pay. I felt a cold breeze on my neck and heard a whisper in my ear. "Welcome to our home. You will never leave." I screamed again and dropped my camera. The flashlight went out, and the room was plunged into darkness. I felt a hand grab my shoulder and another one cover my mouth. I struggled, but it was useless. I was doomed. The last thing I heard was a sinister laugh, and then everything went black.